going to be a general overview on condos. It's more going to be about you guys and about asking questions. Hopefully I can answer them. If I can't, I'll certainly try to get the answers for you. So I'll give you a little bit of background on basically why I'm doing this course. So I've been in real estate now. I know most of you people in the room, but there's some that I don't know. My name is Andrew Perkins. I've been in real estate now for 14 years and been with KW since day one, 2011. I guess people always come to me for condo questions. That's why I think Janice asked me to do this course. When I started in the business in 2007, I kind of was drawn towards condos. I don't know why, but I love living in it. I don't like shoveling. I don't like doing any of that crap. So I'm doing any, mowing the lawns and doing all that stuff. So I was kind of drawn to it when I first started. I bought my first pre-construction condo in 2009. That's at Theater Lofts on Gottingen Street. So I actually moved in there. So I was through that whole process of new construction. So I lived there in 2011 to last year. And I was on the board there for 2 years as vice president, and then I was president of the condo board for the last 6 years at Theater Lofts. And then now I just moved to the Keep on Quinpool, and I'm also the vice president on the board there. So I had lots of background in condos. I kind of know the inner workings of the condos and how it's supposed to work. This course is more going to be about you as an agent and how presenting offers and how things you should be doing when you're taking listings and stuff like that. So that's kind of how that's going to work. A lot of I would say the majority of my business comes from buying and selling condos. So that's where I get a lot of my business from. My focus primarily on the Peninsula of Halifax. I know all the buildings on the Peninsula of Halifax inside out. I know every financial detail on them. So if you have a question about a particular building or you're not sure about, give me a call. I have no problem for our KW family to answer any of your questions and stuff you might have. And I know Janice and I talked quite a bit. Susan and I talked quite a bit. But anytime you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If I can, then I'll certainly get it answered for you. All right, so this is kind of the outline of what we're going to go through today. We're going to go, what is a condo, writing an offer, different things you should look for in your offer, and the way you should present your offer. You'll know a lot of this stuff. It might be pretty basic, but there might be a little tip or two that I might go over that you might pick up and go, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So I have all the agreements and everything all here. A listing a condo, the things you should be getting from your seller before you list it, just to make the transaction a lot smoother instead of having to chase it down after the fact, okay? How to read condo documents, that's the big thing we're gonna go over today, because you're as an agent, you wanna protect your client, okay? So you're gonna have to dig into these condo documents. You're gonna know I'm gonna show you what you need to be looking for in the documents, because I see it too many times. A lot of people, like, if you just ask your client for condo documents and you don't look at them at all, you don't know what you're going to get. You might get meeting minutes from 2014. They're no good to you right now, right? You need to know what's going on in the building in the last year, the last couple of years. And your client, a lot of clients who live in condos, they don't give a shit about nothing. They just want to sit back and take it easy. They don't care about what's going on with the condominium, what's going on with the condo corporation, anything like that. So we're going to go over that. I'm just going to go over new construction, basically just some new condo builds that are coming up now that you might not know about, some things that are kind of coming on stream this year. There's not a lot of new construction condos going on now, so hopefully that'll change. Basically everything you see around is apartment buildings now, so you don't see a lot of new condos. And then I got a few tips, and then we'll go through some Q&A. As I'm going through stuff, guys, feel free to ask any questions you might have. I'll stop, we'll go over it. If I can't answer, maybe someone else in the room might be able to answer, but that's kind of how we're going to work today. So what is a condo? All right, that's pretty most people know what a condo is. That's yours. I put it up just for you. I knew you would be here. So Susan just sold this condo. That's at Brunswick Street, the old church down there. So they have some really funky loft style condos. So a condo is a private residence owned by an individual owner or family in a building or community with multiple units or townhouses. If a question comes up down there, I don't notice it, and you guys just point it out. I think that'll flash or something over here.
This was flashing though.
Was it?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Oh, someone is typing. All right, let's go, guys. Sorry, let's see if I can get this now.
It just kept saying talk.
Oh, no. Oh, it's me talking. Okay, I should make sure everyone hear me okay. Put that in there. We'll go back to this. A lot of questions I get on condos is, what do I own? What do I actually own in a condominium? So basically, you own from the gyprock in, okay? Anything on the other side of the wall and between the two units, that's the condo corporation. That's what they own. Where are we going? We're going too far. And you know, you get a lot of people who are misinformed about condos because they think your plumbing is taken care of, your electrician, you know, your electrical is taken care of and all that. When you move in the condo, it's not. What's inside your unit, you have to take care of those things. It's basically what's outside your unit that your condo corporation is going to cover. And I'll go over that in a second. So basically from gyprock in, and then we'll go, so how condominium works. Condominiums are made up of residents who elect a volunteer board to run the building on their behalf. So that's usually done in an AGM. Every year there's a new vote and residents will vote on the condo board. It's set up like a business and they call it a condo corporation. Like when you see, it'll be like condo corporation number 405 or number 303. They hold regular meetings. They have an AGM once a year. And the bigger buildings, like usually 10 units or higher, they're going to have a property management company. Some of the big property management companies in the city are Nova Corp, Podium Properties, Real Estate 360. Those are the three big ones. Any of the bigger buildings that you see that have like multiple units, 70 units, 100 units, they're going to have a property management company. So the volunteer board is going to work with that property management company to run the day-to-day operations of the building. So that's how. There's some things to look out for, like a small building that may be self-managed. If you get into something like that, you're going to have to dig a little deeper on stuff like that because a bigger, like a property management company is going to have all your financials for you, all your condo documents for you. It's all going to be in PDF. It's all going to be nice. It's going to be sent to you, hopefully. But a smaller building, like if you got a building with 4 to 6, even 10 units, someone in that building has to take the lead, right? They have to be the person that's going to take the lead, it's going to run the building, it's going to do the financials, and it's not always pretty, okay? So if you get into these 4 units, you really, like, what was the one you had on South Street there? Like, it was a disaster, right? They had no money in the reserve fund, near the new roof, they needed different things. She did sell it after, well, I don't know how you did that, but yeah, so that, yes.
Andrew Murray's clients bought it,
Yeah.
and he just told me like they're running an Airbnb and they're making
Kill
a
them.
ton of
Yeah,
money
yeah,
on it.
yeah, yeah. So that's good, but that's the things you want to look at in smaller buildings, because anything over 10 units or above, they have to have a reserve fund study done every 5 years. And I'm going to go over that stuff in a second about reserve fund studies and that. So every 5 years, but the small buildings 10 or below don't have to have that done. So, you know, you got to see when the roof was done in those buildings. When was the windows changed? You know, are there any issues with the building? And usually that'll come up in meeting minutes, but a smaller building, they might have meeting minutes once a year, maybe, right? So we'll go over that in a second. So the next thing, so condo fees. Oh yes, the old question of condo fees. Everybody hates condo fees. I love condo fees. I have no problem with them. I gladly pay them. I have a house that I rent out that costs me more than my condo fees, right? So if you have a house, you know there's ongoing fees that you're going to have to pay, and that's the same with condo fees. So what does a condo fee cover? It's going to cover the general maintenance of the building, contribution to a reserve fund. It may include heating. I think there's a question there. It may include parking, your windows, your doors, your roof, gym, pool, etc. That's all covered under your condo fee. Any snow clearing, any landscaping, all covered under your condo fee. So, you know, it covers a lot when you look at it. Water's covered a lot of times, yeah. Building insurance, exactly. If there's anything else, just fire them out. I think there's a question on here. Did I see something flashing? Or no? Okay. When your question comes in from your audience, you can, okay. But I remember I took a course from Pat Cassidy once, and he talked about condo fees. And what he said is any prudent homeowner should be putting away a monthly budget for anything that's upcoming. It's no different in a condo, right? So I always remembered that. And yeah, so that's what your condo fee covers. One thing I always note about that is if you're selling a condo and it's either natural gas or oil, good chance the heating is going to be included in the condo fee. If it's electric baseboard, it's not going to be included in the condo fee. So you got to look at that condo fee and go, okay, it may seem high, but if the heat is included in it, You know, that's $100, $150 a month. Same with parking, especially if you're downtown. Parking is a premium downtown. $150 underground parking, that's what you're gonna pay. So if that's included in the condo fee, that's another thing you say, hey, well, this is included, this is included, right? So, all right, so you're out with clients, you find a nice condo, now you have to put an offer together. So I'm gonna pull up this and just go through a few things that I wanna point out on the offer. Okay, so I'm not gonna go through all this. You guys know what agreement purchase and sale is. One thing when you're writing this, make sure you put in number 4. So you're gonna have 4 pages, including your resale condominium. I'm not gonna go over, what I really wanna go over in this is your seller's obligations and your buyer's obligations. I see it every time, like if I have a condo listed, people get this mixed up, okay? So you're gonna check off property disclosure statement. Please do not check off any restrictive covenants. There are no such thing in a condo. Everybody thinks that might be the condo documents or something like that. There's no such thing as a restrictive covenant, okay? Equipment schedule, doubtful there's gonna be anything that's gonna be leased there. There's not gonna be a location certificate. And in other, don't put condo documents in other, okay? That's what the resale condominium schedule is for. Don't put it there. Put in your property taxes, put in your heating and electrical costs. Same thing on your buyer's conditions. Don't check off the restrictive covenants. You know, we always have to counter back. There are no restrictive covenants, right? Or our compliance officer is going to come, you know, come down on us. So make sure you do that. Same thing here, other and others. So that's pretty easy, but that's just a little tip. Makes everything go a lot smoother in the deal instead of having to put counter offers together and stuff like that. Honestly, I think every time everyone checks restrictive covenants. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's nothing else in that agreement. So let's go over the resale condominium schedule. So your condo corporation, a good agent's going to have all that information on your cut sheet for you. Okay, but if they don't, take the PID number, go into Property Online, and just put the PID number in here. I think I got it. I'll just show you. Just want to show you a couple of things on Property Online. 414-732-16. All right. Hopefully this don't make. So right here is what you want to look at. So when you see this, where are we? Right here, corporation number, level number, unit number. Like what the cut sheet has is not always going to add up. It's not going to be the legal description of it. So this is what you want here. The condo corporation 405, like my unit, this is my personal unit, it's 307. This is done, like this is new. So it's done right, it's level 3, it's 307. That doesn't always add up. Like you might go to some condo buildings, it might be level 4, unit 2, and it's unit 402, okay? So you just want to get the legal description there. But what I always do here on the description, I'll put the condo corporation, I'll put the legal description of it, but then I'll put the actual unit number right under here where it says unit number, okay? The next one, parking. Deeded and assigned parking. Does everyone know the difference between a deeded and assigned parking? Most people do? What's that? So a deeded parking spot is just like another, like you own another piece of property, okay? It's separate from the unit. So you're gonna have a separate tax bill on the deeded parking spot, but you own basically the airspace down and across. That's you.
So for like Worsbrook, where you're buying a condo, you're
Yep.
gonna be deeded.
They're deeded, yeah.
They would be deeded.
They're deeded, yeah. You can sell those separate from your unit. And there was one for sale down in, they were selling for $25,000, just the parking spot, right? And that would have to be deeded, okay? That can't be assigned. So the difference is an assigned parking spot goes with the unit. So when the declaration was made, say 2005, unit 307, parking spot 52, that's forever, right?
So what happens the difference between having an assigned parking spot? Like, does it have to be the physical number? Because sometimes you go into a building and they say you have one parking spot, but they can't guarantee what parking spot it's going to be until it closes.
Well, I just had that happen. And I wasn't, that didn't sit well with me because, you know, because you go in some of these buildings and you go through the park, there are more desirable parking spots than others. So you need to go, I call up the property management company, I say, what's the rules here? Where is this parking spot? I don't want to know on closing that I have the crappiest parking spot in the building for my client. The client's going to be awfully
But
pissed
does
off.
but do they have the condo corp have the
It should be in
has
your
the rights,
declaration.
though, to do that? Because then they
They
say
need a
you're
vote.
on a wait list.
Yeah, well, a condo corporation, if they get the votes, they can pretty much do anything if they get an 80% vote, right? So they would have to actually change the declaration, get 80% people vote to change the parking spot in an assigned situation, right? So it doesn't happen very often. But you know, if an agent says that to you, like I just had a deal I did on Kennard Street, and she said, we don't know where the parking spot you'll get when it closes. I was like, no, that's not going to work, because there was a little tiny parking spot. What I think there was in that building was like a pecking order. So
Yes.
if once someone moves, then next person's going to get the best parking
I'm
spot.
pretty sure that's what happened to me in a deal I did in King's Wharf too.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no, for new construction projects, you can't see the, they don't.
yeah.
Just take what you get, I mean. come to
Not
the-
really. I mean, usually new construction, if it's deeded, you probably picked the parking spot. You looked at the plan, you went, okay, I'll take that one right there. It's close to the elevator. Or whatever.
Can you repeat the questions for the people that
Oh,
are?
crap.
We're just talking about assigned parking spots,
Okay.
just say. We're talking
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, we're just talking about a sign between deeded and a sign. So does that make sense to everyone? Any other questions on that? Because that is something you got to know, especially when you're writing the offer, if it's deeded or assigned. Put in the number here. Another thing I'll go over is you need to put the other PID number. So there's going to be two separate PID numbers. So you got to make sure you reference both PID numbers in the offer. Typically what I do is I put it up here because it even says PID and PIDs. So it has S. So put both your PID numbers in there. Okay, your lawyer is probably going to come back and say you need an amendment to put the other PID number on there, right? Because you're buying your unit and you're buying the parking spot.
Can I make a
Sure.
comment?
Absolutely.
Also on an amendment now, if you guys will notice this, the amendment spot for the PID will fit two.
Okay.
It will only fit one.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a glitch or not, but
Yeah.
I had to put a star there just recently and then talk about it
In the
actual thing.
so
Yeah,
that's a good
it
point.
would-
I've never noticed that before. So
I don't know, maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
well, I mean,
but-
you know, if that is the case, your amendment's probably only going to go deal with the unit anyway. It's probably not going to deal with the parking spot. So
Yeah.
maybe you can get away with that.
I don't
that
know,
way?
because I just think when it says amendment, it says PID number, and then you put it in, and it's like, okay, but I'm talking about two right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's just a glitch.
Yeah,
or not,
that's
but
probably-
As long as you have it on that, I think you're
That's
okay.
yeah, exactly. So that's that.
So I guess my question would be then, when it says the third option was unassigned.
Yeah.
Does that mean you are gonna get a parking
Yeah.
spot, but you just don't know what number it
So
is?
a good example of that's 45 Vinnie Avenue, Granbury
Mhm,
Place.
yeah.
Those parking spots are unassigned. So basically they have just, this is the parking for all the residents, park where you want. There's no set number. There's no set number for it.
But they have underground.
They have
and
underground,
outside.
but you have to go on a waiting list for that. But anyone, like I just sold one there, and you just have outside parking. That's it. Park wherever, and there's tons of parking there. That's why they have it like that. So that's what a non-assigned parking spot is. So you're not going to actually get a number, but you're assigned and deeded. There's definitely going to be a number. And same with the storage. I don't know many deeded storage spots because they usually stay with the parking spots. So they're usually included in that PID number and assigned. The next one, 1.4, is condo fees. So make sure you get the right condo fee, okay? The most up-to-date condo fee. Because especially a lot of times people will list a property in, say, August, September. The new year rolls around, condo fees go up. They don't change it on the listing cut. And
And
then,
then you're stuck with it, like people can argue that.
Absolutely,
Through that,
right?
like,
absolutely. So you got to be diligent. And when you're listing a condo, you have to be very diligent on getting the right information from the client, because you don't want it to come back to haunt you down the road, okay? Seller representative. So the documentation, I'm going to go over each document one by one, so just to give you some tips and stuff when you're reading them. So this is the documentation that you want to make sure you get from the seller if we're still talking about buying here, okay? So the declaration bylaws, common element rules and regulation of the condo corporation. I'm going to show you a little tip on property online here to get the to get the declaration and bylaws. So if you're having a problem getting that from the agent, you just know, all you need to know is the condo corporation number. Punch that in, and you're going to see right up top here, Halifax Condominium Corporation 405. If you go over to details, come on, baby. Right down here, pretty much any new condo or any condo is going to have that now. Like really old ones, you might not see it, but all the condo declaration and the bylaws are all scanned, put in the property online for you. So if the agent's not getting that to you, you don't need to worry about it. Don't hassle them for it. Just go in and do it yourself. That's what I do anyway. So reserve fund study, most recent financial minutes. Again, like I said, a lot of agents are just going to send you whatever their client sent you. Make sure you look at them, you read them. You got to protect your client, right? So you have to look at the, make sure they're the most recent. Let me see. I might have a question here. Okay, great tip there. Oh, thank you, Holly. The most recent financial minutes. I have the financial minutes are like, especially the yearly financial minutes. They usually come out at the AGM, and they don't get approved till the next AGM. So like you're working off 2018 financial minutes when 2019 just closed. You won't see those financial minutes till they're approved. Usually an AGM is going to be May, June, July. That's when most of the AGMs for condo associations are. Some are different, but that's the majority that I have. So I always push, and I'll go to the property management company, say, can you give me the draft? A lot of times they will, sometimes they won't, depends on the property management company, but try to get the most recent. And the same with the meeting minutes, the AGM minutes and the meeting minutes. So in my opinion, the most important thing to get is the meeting minutes. That's where you're going to get the dirt. That's where you're going to know what's going on. If there's any, right? If there's complaining, if there's any special assessments coming up, anything like that, that's where you're going to get it. Okay, so make sure you get that. And
Andrew, sorry, just going back
sure.
1 year, or you go back further?
I usually go back 1 year, maybe two. I usually go back 1 year though, because everything is all brought forward, right? So usually if you get 1 year of good minutes, not all condo corporations keep good minutes. Most of them do. If they got a good property management company, they will. The other thing is an estoppel certificate, okay? I really have a problem with this 2.3 clause. I'm just going to read it for you. The seller agrees at their expense to provide the buyer an estoppel certificate. So let's show you what an estoppel certificate is. Anyone know what that is, or you've heard of it, but you probably don't know what it is. Okay, so estoppel certificate is something that changes hands usually about 7 to 10 business days before the closing. I'm going to go over why I have a problem with this. And it just gives all the information about the condo corporation. So this is going to be sent to your lawyer from the property management company, and this is the information that's going to be on an estoppel. It's going to tell you who the manager of the building is. It's going to tell you who the board members are. Now this is all changed. These are the developers. This is the estoppel certificate for the last one I bought. So these are all the people that are on the board. This all changed now. We have a new board. Exactly what your condo fees are, right? So make sure the cut sheet is right, because if this comes on, 7 to 10 days before your closing, and 352 is now 425, I'm pretty pissed off.
But the agents don't typically see this.
No, they don't. And I have a big problem with this. Yes,
Just here.
Yep.
This is just kind of a snapshot of the way condo looks at the page, right?
the day it's issued. Yes.
So the problem I know where you're going with
Yeah.
this, because of course that's changed.
Right.
Like
From
you were a day later.
Exactly. So like if you have a long closing, I've done it before on a long closing. If I have a 5 or 6 month closing, I'll ask for the estoppel certificate up front, and then I'll get it again before it closes.
Somebody's gonna pay for that.
Well, if they want the deal, they're going to have to pay for it. So yeah, the property management company will usually charge $300 to fill out a piece of paper. That's basically, yeah, $250 to $300 for estoppel. So the biggest thing on the estoppel, you're going to find the reserve fund. Like I said, just registered, so it says 0 on our reserve fund and the contingency fund. But right here, you're going to see a special assessment, and it's going to have a yes or no. So if you've done your due diligence, you should know if there's a special assessment coming. You shouldn't have to wait for the estoppel certificate, because I'll go back to, where is it, right here, go back to, so this is where you could get really screwed. So condominium bylaws in respect to common and cellar. No less than 7 days prior to the closing date. So you could be all ready to close, everyone's packed up and moved. The buyer shall be deemed satisfied with their certificate unless the seller or the seller's agent is notified to the contrary in writing within 3 days of the receipt of it.
You could walk, right?
You could walk. A client can walk. Can you imagine? I've never had it happen to me. I hope it never happens. Knock on wood. But I think there's something wrong. I think this clause needs to change. And
Because you're still pending, right till closing.
right till closing. Yeah.
Like, you're not firm.
And I don't know why they didn't change this when they changed the resale condominium.
I haven't done one for them.
Yeah.
But that, they're always makes me stop.
Yeah.
It always makes me stop and go,
Yeah.
this, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Representing the buyer, they could be homeless. They've got
Yeah.
their house.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. And the sellers might have moved on already.
Two properties.
Right. So, you know, it's a tricky clause.
Are you allowed to, are you allowed to live 2.5? I mean, we could write your own.
Yeah, you could write your own. Like I said, if it's if you only got a 2-month closing, you should be okay. But if you're looking at a 5 or 6 month closing, just ask for the estoppel certificate up front and again on the end. I've done it before. They've gladly given it to me. Delete this. You can do whatever you want as long as both parties sign, right? Yeah.
I wonder if the lawyers will.
Yeah, who knows? But I think that clause needs to
At the end
change.
of
So.
the day, anybody on any resale property can walk
Oh, I get
up
that.
to
The finance has to survive those two,
And
but-
no
buyer's gonna walk back across it.
No, you still don't want that. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say then, Andrew, is if you want to protect your buyer.
Yeah.
You, maybe redo that clause and say within whatever your dates are that you're receiving all your documents.
You
that
can get an
receive
estoppel.
an estoppel
Yeah, I mean, you
certificate
can-
As well as 7
Yeah,
days
yeah.
prior. to
I mean, you can put that up in the additional clauses up here. Just saying, buyer, seller to, request estoppel certificate property management company and put the same date you want it by. I mean, it doesn't take very long for a property management company to
I'm
whip
sure
up an
your
estoppel.
financials cover that estoppel certificate information anyways, like if you're, am I correct in saying that, your financial, whatever you're reviewing for financials is basically that stuff?
Ye-
It's on your estoppel,
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
It's just not the minute by minute changing per day.
Right. It's at the time. So this is going to be prepared like a week to a week and a half before the closing. And like any major capital expenditures plan, any lawsuits, and the property management company, they have to, they have to tell you exactly what's going on, right? So any debt is carried, and then that's it. It's just one page that could screw your life pretty bad if it ever happens. Hopefully it never happens and it never comes to that, but you never know. Another thing I want to point out here on this, damage is the same as agreement for any damage that's caused to the units at the onus of the seller before closing. But check this one out in number 5. The buyer and seller agree that any special assessments outstanding levied by the condo corporation on or before closing shall be paid by the seller. Okay, I just had this happen last year to me. We had the deal put together. They got an assessment. The agent's calling like, Andrew, will they split it? Will your client split it with them? It's like, no. I mean, it says right there, plain as day, pay it out. You got to pay it. It was $3,500. The seller did not want to pay it, but if they wanted the deal, they had to pay it out. It's right there in the contract. Monthly common fees are to be adjusted. Same as, you adjust your condo fee. So if you close on the 15th, the seller would have paid those full month condo fees. So that's just all adjusted out at the end, and the lawyers take care of all that. So clear as mud. Any questions about that? Hopefully you got some good information out of that. But yeah, just pay. I really think we should say something about this. Like I'll mention it to Ann. I've mentioned it before. I don't know if they'll ever change it, and I don't know the reasoning behind it, but yeah, probably.
what would you recommend?
I don't know. I really don't know. I just don't.
It's always been the case though.
Yeah, it was in the old one too.
It's always
It's been the case. Yeah, it was in the old one too. Yeah, that's probably why they didn't, because they really don't know how else to handle it.
All more reason to test the status quo.
Yeah, yeah. But again, it just goes back to being a good agent, doing your due diligence, making sure you're getting all the information for your client. Okay.
Andrew, Andrew?
Hello?
Hi,
Yes?
sorry. Can you just tell me if the estoppel certificate is unique to each unit? So it
No,
tells whether or
no,
not that,
it's to the building. It's to the building.
so
Pretty sure.
in it, I think I've read that if there were arrears.
Right. Yes, that would be there. If there was arrears for that particular unit, that
For
should
that
be.
unit, okay.
Yeah. Condominium.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, you're right. Yeah,
The date, that's there.
it's right there, is it?
Yeah. It says 0, off the little, yeah, right there. Whereas at the date of the certificate are $0.
Okay. Yeah. So it's right there, Holly. Susan just pointed that out. Okay. So let's keep on trucking along. What are we doing here? Buddy. Where my stuff go? Oh, there it is. All right. So another thing I just put in there to get an inspection or not. I don't know. Most of you guys recommend people get an inspection on the condo?
Yes.
They don't always do it.
No, they don't always do it. I recommend it. You know, I always explain to the client that inspector is not going to inspect the building. Okay, it's only going to do the inside of the unit. So it's going to do your plumbing, your electrical. Any good inspector these days are going to have a thermal imaging gun. So they're going to, you know, go around the whole unit to make sure there's no water infiltration or anything like that. I always like to tell a story on an inspection. My client declined it. He said, let's you and I go and we'll take a look at the unit. You know, hopefully, this is when I first got into business. It was up on Rutledge Street here. So we go in and I tell them, I'm glad we got this acknowledgement waiver thing now,
Yes.
right? That's a great thing. So I said, I'm not an inspector. I'll help you. We'll go look. So we go look at the unit. Everything looks good. We test the plumbing, do all that. So I get a call 3 weeks later. Andrew, the ceiling came down in the bathroom. He said there was a little bubble up there. I poked it and the whole thing came right. And the inspector would have probably caught it. I don't know. Maybe. But what had happened is the unit above, the toilet was leaking and came down through and it was just a mess. Now the condo insurance covered it. So it wasn't a bad thing, but it's one of those things. You don't want that to happen. You don't want to get that call.
Who's condo insurance?
It's the building. It was it was the person above and the building because it came down through in between, right? So they had to cover that stuff. The condo corporation did, and then that person's insurance above had to
So
take care of that.
include content insurance.
Content insurance, yeah, exactly. So I always recommend just get an inspection. Any good inspector won't charge as much as a home inspection, so it should be about $300, $350. They're usually there for an hour. It's the easiest money they ever made.
And you told me about it, so get the hour.
They're trying, yeah, especially if it's a smaller unit. But I've been on ones where the dishwasher didn't work and I got a $500 credit for the dishwasher, right? So, you know, things like that.
Air exchanger.
Air exchangers.
hot water tank.
That's right. So there are still a lot of components that you definitely want to make sure you get the inspector to check. All right, so listing a condo. This is going to be pretty simple. We'll just go through this real quick. Okay.
I'd like to see many home inspectors actually reducing their fees.
No, I don't.
Has hot water tanks and appliances that were broken. Has hot water tanks.
They're like saying they're coming, they're figuring, trying to get the hour there.
Yeah,
And half the time you talk to me.
450. Yeah, the guy I use is about 325. It's usually
Who's that?
Jody Jenkins, Killick Homing. Yeah. So I looked at seller brokerage agreement. There's really nothing in there. The designated brokerage agreement. Just go over the addendum and a couple of things here I want to point out when you're filling this out, just to make it easier for our great staff here. You know, you want to check this. Make sure it's a condo, apartment, or a townhouse. You need to know that. It could be it could be detached, semi-detached. The building style, you're either going to be apartment or a townhouse. And I really want to go over here. So a couple of things. When building dimensions, lot size, and zoning, maybe I'm doing this wrong, but I just put condo in for all those. Yeah. So if you're listing it, so just put condo, because there's really no, you're not going to be able to get the building dimensions unless you want to go measure a full condo building. I don't know who wants to do that. And the lot size doesn't really matter. So that's all I put there for the bill for that stuff. So down, property overview. Oh, lockbox and lockbox location. Guys, if you're listing a condo, make sure you identify your friggin' lock.
And you mark your keys.
And mark your keys. That's 2
Keys.
tips, okay?
Mark your
That,
keys.
please,
Tell us how
write
you
it down,
feel.
right? Like, it is nothing worse when you go to King's Wharf or these places that have 10 lock boxes on there, and then the agent hasn't marked it for you. So you
You
get,
have 3 sets of
yeah.
keys and you don't know who's is
right?
which.
So also mark the unit number, the address, put a business card in there. Just try to make it easy, because there's nothing worse when you're there with the client and then you got to call the agent. Which one is your lockbox? Oh, it's a SIM number, and then they give you the number. Come on, man! Like, put a business, not hard, tape a business card on there or something to identify.
Keys too.
Yeah.
You gotta mark the keys.
Yeah.
35 units, you have one in each pocket, try and remember each pocket.
Yeah.
That's what you-
Oh, I know. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I do is I always make a point of taking a picture of where the lock boxes are in the building.
Yeah.
And I put that in my picture.
Oh, that's a good idea. There's a great tip right there. Yeah,
Can you
absolutely.
repeat that for the online?
What
Yeah.
was the great
Go ahead,
tip?
Mike.
What was the great tip?
Oh, I have to tell you? So Mike said that he takes a picture of the lockbox and puts that on the listing cut, so people will know where it is on the building, or sorry, the location.
Yeah, 'cause
Look.
sometimes it's on the pool fence or something.
Exactly, yeah. Did you get that, Holly?
She's thinking.
Pondering.
I can feel her.
I did,
Yeah,
thank
Taylor.
you.
Yeah. So right here, when you're listing a condo again, make sure you get the monthly condo fee right. They really give you a lot of space to put what the condo fee includes here. I know they give you 250 letters, but they have this little line, right? So I think, I don't know, I usually just email it to whoever's putting it, input it to Jessica, but there's no way you're gonna get everything on this little line of what a condo fee includes.
Put it in instruction and numbers, maybe, is that where it goes?
Well, yeah, you could do that. But actually, I think when you put it in Paragon, it gives you a lot more, right? But when you send that in, that document, she's only going to see, heat, water, parking, insurance, common elements, whatever. Again, goes back to the property online. I just went over the condo corp number, the legal level, legal unit number, deeded. Oh, sorry, there's another place here for when you're listing it. The second PID. So you want to put the second PID number right here. See that right here? Okay. If it's deeded. If it's assigned, you don't need to put that in. Let's see. Let's go back down here. So deeded, assigned, none. Same with the parking and the storage. Over here, they added this. It's nice. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this show. You can search this. Can you search like 2 bedrooms plus den now? You can?
Yeah,
If
any
it's checked.
field that you can input, you can search
Yeah,
for.
because that is input. Like, is that on a listing cut now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't see. That's what I-
Sweet laundry, that's a good one.
Yeah. Pet friendly, possible, bare land condo. Most buildings in the city are pet friendly. There's very few condo buildings that are not pet friendly. I haven't run across them anyway. But they've changed the legislation recently. It used to be a size restriction way back when we first started in the business. Now what it is if the pet is a nuisance. So if, because you could have a little, Chihuahua, and sorry, no offense to Chihuahua owners, or a golden retriever, right? And golden retriever might be 12 years old and just lay down all day and sleep and not make any noise. And the Chihuahua is just anyone who walks by the doors, yap, 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 yap. So the condo corporation can ask for that pet to be removed based on the new legislation that came in. So
Because typically they say a weight restriction.
it's not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no weight restriction anymore.
The
They got
other
rid of
thing
it.
is, there are some condos that are non-smoking now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, most of the new condos are all going non-smoking. Yeah. And then a lot of the other condominiums are passing bylaws to get rid of smoking and stuff like that. So. Okay, so I think that's it on that square footage building age. I don't think there's anything else in here that you would need to know. Let's see. All right, where are we? Okay, so any questions on that?
So my question is to your process when you're listing a condo. Are you gonna go with that, or?
I can.
So, yeah, tell us what you do in order, like, do you have a specific email that you give a client every time?
Yeah, I mean, I have, I can pull it up, there's in my documents, but what a checklist.
Yeah.
Basically is what I have, a checklist, all the condo documents you need to get, all the information, keys, you know, same as you have listing a house, but just a little more, basically the condo documents are really all you're getting, and you want to make sure you get your storage locker number, put that all in the cut sheet, parking number, all that stuff, make sure it's all in the cut sheet. Just makes
Showing the condo.
showing the condo so much easier, and it helps that client, or helps that agent bring the client through the condo that much easier, right? So,
Like, tell them where the pool is and where the gym
yeah,
is.
exactly.
Type of thing.
You know, like I know Stacy Wenzel will always put in his documents tab everything. Like, this is where for Gladstone, because he sold that building when it eventually came out. This is where the gym is. This is where the pool is. This is how you get here, and everything like that. That's a good idea. I don't do that, but it'd be a good idea to do. All right, so now we're going to dig into a few things here. All right. Any questions before we get onto this? So I'm going to go over different the condo documents. Okay. I'm going to go over different financial statements, what to look for, what you should be looking for in that. We're going to go over, let's see, the budget, meeting AGM minutes, reserve fund study. So those are kind of like the three things, the three main things that you want to be looking for. Okay. So let's take this one here. So this is my old condo, Theater Lofts. These guys, Podium Properties, do a great job with their condo documents. So you always get them on time. So this is for the AGM for last year. So again, this is the package that will go out to all owners. And it just gives you a basic rundown. The first thing I always look, when I get if I got a client who's buying a condo, first thing I'm going to look at is the financials. That's what I want to know. How healthy is this how healthy is this corporation? So I'm just going to go right down here. Any big condominium building are going to have an accounting firm that are going to do all the books for them, right? So this one here, see, this is November 30th, 2018. So that's the year end for that condo corporation, is November 30th. So they would have had another year end 2019. I'm not going to be able to see those minutes till the next AGM and they're approved, okay? So make sure you realize that. So I'll always call the property management company. I'll always ask for the draft. I don't always get it, but I always want to get the most recent. That's what you need to get so you can protect your client. So in the financial statements, you're always going to, you want to read through it. So what I'm always looking at here, this is the financial position. I always like to see what's in the reserve fund. So I'll look at the building. Okay, this building is 8-9 years old. They have $183,000 in the reserve fund. That's pretty good for a building of 8 or 9 years. You'll get some buildings like that are older than that now. They'll have less money in the condo reserve, but then you got to go and say, okay, did you do your roof? Have you done the windows? Have you done these capital expenditures? Okay, and I'm going to tie this back to the reserve fund in a second.
Is there a rule of thumb for reserve fund based on the age, number of
Yeah,
units?
yeah. So I'll get to that. In the reserve fund, I have a reserve fund study, and I'll show you how that works and how they come up with how much money goes in reserve fund for things like that. The contingency fund is just like an emergency fund. So they have 17,000 in that. So basically this condominium has over 200,000 in their, in their cash. What if they need stuff or stuff comes up. So you look on here, net assets, operating reserve. So if you look a little farther down, so you can go over all this, but mainly I look for what they have in the reserve fund. And then let's see, where's this? There's one more thing, county policy. Because this reserve fund was actually underfunded or overfunded. So right here, the reserve fund study number 3. So the corporations, everyone see that okay? Move that up. So this will show you how much each year that the condominium corporation should be putting in the reserve fund. Okay, so 2019, they need to be putting 36, 41, 41, 41, 46. And this is all based on the reserve fund study. So I'm going to go over that in a second. A reserve fund study needs to be done every 5 years on any condo building 10 units or above. So an engineer is going to come in. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm going to come back to that, okay? So if you look right here, like you read this, the recommended reserve fund balance ending November 30 should be 167. The recommended contribution fund for the next 5 years, there's 183. So I'd be like, man, this is a good building to buy into. They got more money in their reserve fund than they projected than they're supposed to have, right? So if you look at that, and then, you know, you'd be pretty comfortable selling that unit to your client. You're going to get them in there where they should have 150,000, and there might be 30,000 in the reserve fund. You know what I mean? So then you actually got to dig in a little bit and try to find out if the capital improvements have been done, because that's where the big chunks of money for the reserve fund go. Okay, so that's a little bit on that. That's reading financials again. That's the main thing that I usually look at right away, is to see what's in their reserve fund. And
Peter, how confident are you in having your client's lawyer go over financials with them?
I honestly don't think lawyers really review anything on the condo documents. I don't know. I hope they do. You send it to them. You're hoping they're reviewing it, but I don't think a lot of lawyers are.
I've heard, had a couple of real estate lawyers say they're not accountants. They have no idea.
Exactly.
Looking at anywhere.
Right? So hiring an accountant could be something, you know, because your clients are not reading this. I can guarantee you most clients are not reading this. They're going to come to you down the road and say, hey, how come you didn't tell us there was no money in the reserve fund? And now I have a special assessment against my, you know, against the building. So, you know, it's can be a little tricky, but you read it, you point it out. So I always point out to the client, I'll say, you know, this is a very well-funded condominium corporation. This is how much they have in their reserve fund. And even if it's low, like, you want to make sure you point that out to the client and say, look, they only have 20,000 in the reserve fund. That's not a lot of money. Most clients still go through with the deal because they love the unit, or, you know what I mean? And they don't really understand this stuff. So,
But the budget's also there for them too. So if
Exactly.
there's only 20,000 and they only need 7,000
Yeah.
to run the building.
yeah. So that's the next thing right here, is the budget. Pretty standard accounting budget. It just goes revenue and expenses, right? So your revenue is drawn from your condominium fees, your parking fees, Nova Scotia Energy rebate. And then these are all your expenses. So you can look at that. This always should equal zero, what the budget is, and what your expenses are should always equal zero. So any questions about that?
People for providing us stuff for you.
I mean, the thing, I always tell the client, like, if you're not happy with the condo documents, you can terminate the deal. So, right? So let's get the deal together. You know, some people are adamant about it, and most agents will send them, because you're going to get to that point eventually, right? So most agents will send the condo documents to you. Some don't. Some want to see an offer. I've had that happen before, and that's fine. It's written right in the clause that if you're not happy with the condo documents, you can terminate the deal right there and then. So.
And around town, I'm curious, have you been seeing any special assessments?
Yeah. This building had special assessment. This building I lived in, we had a special assessment. It wasn't a large one, but
Not like years ago.
yeah. I mean, Coburg Place down on the end of that condominium building, they had to take out a loan for $13 million because they kept putting Band-Aids, like the whole siding on one side of the building kept leaking, and they were trying to, and then the corporate, and that's why those condo fees are so high, is because they had to go and reclad the whole side of the building. Yeah. So just a note for everyone on Embassy Towers, that building does not have insurance now. So if you're looking at a unit in there, 150,000, your client's like, oh yeah, 150,000 downtown. You can't put a mortgage on. Banks will not mortgage that building anymore because there's no insurance. So many problems over the years, so many issues. So if you're looking at, you know, you see that unit comes up, oh, 160,000, oh, it looks nice. You know, it's like, you're not, it's a tough one. You know, I have one listed there for 8 months. It was a nice 2-bedroom. We have about 100 showings. And then once I found out the insurance was, I just like, oh, you can get insurance on the unit, like content insurance, but the building is not insured and banks won't touch it.
What building was that?
Embassy Towers, 59. And like the thing with Embassy Towers, that was one of the first condo buildings in Halifax. That was actually an apartment building that was built in the 60s. They converted it in the early 80s. And back then, I just don't think they really knew what they were doing or how to run a condo corporation, because they didn't save for the rainy day. They weren't putting stuff in the reserve fund. And I think it's only when Pat Cassidy really got into helping out with condos that they started to have the 5 years for the reserve fund to make sure the financials, so you don't see those problems with any of the bigger buildings now, but those older buildings, that's where you're getting the problems because they just don't have, I think the Embassy Towers is, I don't know, 150 unit building, and they have less money in their reserve fund than this building. And this is a 42 unit building.
My first indication, when I see high condo fees, then I look to see what it includes.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't include heat,
Yeah.
then they're trying to build their reserve fund.
Right.
If that's what I look at.
Well, no, usually if it doesn't include heat, it's electric baseboard heat.
But a high condo fee, when your
Yeah.
condo fee is $700 and
Yeah.
there's no heat included,
Yeah.
they're looking to fluff up something. Or pay
Well,
for
they're
something.
either paying for something.
Something. Or
Yeah.
fluffing up
Yeah,
something,
there's a
yeah.
reason why the condo fee is high, because they're either trying to get the reserve fund back to where the reserve fund study has come in. I don't have a reserve fund study for Embassy Towers, but it would be an interesting thing to see, how much money they want in there. So, so everyone good with that? Good with that? Any questions? Okay. Moving on. So here's meeting minutes. So this is the next thing you want to dig into. It's a little bit of due diligence, but I actually like reading this stuff, which is kind of strange, but
Sometimes like reading a fight.
it is, right? It's crazy. So like if you look, this is for Granbury Place. This is a deal that I just did. So I try to get everything current for you guys. So this is how they do it. So there's a secretary. So in a condo corporation, there's a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then directors. Usually if there's like 70 to 100 units, you're going to have 5 or 6 people on the board, and anything less than is all scaled based on how many units there are. So, you start looking in here, you're going, oh, there's safety and security concerns. What's going on there? Window update. Oh, they're replacing all the windows. So there you go. There's a capital improvement in that building on Granbury Place. All the windows are getting replaced right now. That's a big, but that's not like all their condo fees have already reflected that. So if you're digging into it, you should know that already. Okay. You're not going to have to worry about a special assessment on the windows because it's already paid for out of the reserve fund, from the reserve fund study that was done years ago. Okay. And just gives you an idea, Ridgeback. And then 7 units experienced leaks during Hurricane Dorian. Another nice thing to know. Okay, what's going on with the leaks? What I always do if I see stuff like this, I call up the property management company. They have to tell us what's going on, right? So if you call up the property management company, there's usually going to be a representative for that building. Call them up and say, hey, John Orr is representative for this building with NovaCorp. Hey, John, I see in the minutes here that you got some leaks, Hurricane Dorian. How's that going? Has it been fixed? Yep, all fixed. All right, perfect. No more issues? Perfect. Okay, so that puts that at rest. Windows updated, black substance on outside window ledge, superintendent's report. Let's see, motion to accept minutes on treasurer's report. Show, like here you go, $11,000 under budget due to budgeted items not being expended for in the current year. Then you got the general manager's report. So they're going to, anything like the property management company, all the issues go through the property management company. Don't go to the condo board. It seems like we're the first line of defense, but it all goes through property management company, and then the property management company presents that at the meeting. Okay, so you have your regular, bigger condo corporations are going to have a regular meeting every month, maybe every 2 months, and there's going to be AGM once a year. So then the manager is going to have a report. Okay, balcony resurface complete. Drive damage to units 420 caused by 520's hot water tank leak is currently being repaired. So that's going to have to come out of the contingency fund or reserve fund to repair that. Unless the hot water tank was at a date, then it could be put back onto the owner, right? So.
Does a condo meeting typically have a lawyer present?
No.
This
This one did?
Yeah, there was guests from Cox and Palm.
Oh, okay, because they were talking, there was probably an issue or something they were going over. Development range that will apply somewhat measures.
Because I saw.
Oh, okay, so they wanted to talk about installing security cameras on each floor of the building, if that's a privacy issue or not. So that's probably why they had the lawyer come in on that. So I just want to point out a few things. I only went over this briefly last night. So here, This is what you want to be looking for, though. Water damage, 611, 711, 81. Toilet overflows come in at around $5,200, right? So these are all things, and make sure you point it out to your client so your client knows. You know, don't be scared you're going to lose a deal. I'd rather lose a deal than have a client come back to me 3 months later saying, you didn't tell me any of this stuff. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you point this out? You know, don't just assume your clients are going to read all these documents, because there's a good chance that they're not, and there's a good chance the lawyer's not. Okay, sorry, I hope no lawyers are offending any lawyers. But. So that's how we read the condo documents. Everyone okay with that? Anyone have any questions? It's just a brief overview, but you can see how you get into those, like you're going to dig up some stuff, and you're going to find, because no condo building is perfect. They're all
New construction, this is
new construction. You're not going to see anything
after it's
all done. Yeah, yeah. That's a whole different. That's another course. That's another hour and another day.
Andrew, there's
Yes.
a few questions online that haven't been
Okay.
answered. Thanks.
Sorry. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes. Yes. So that question there for reserve fund was completely depleted a couple of years ago on a building is about 20 years. Should you be concerned? You should be concerned, but you also want to look into what they did with that money. Did they replace the roof? Because on big buildings, I mean, that's $100,000, $200,000 job, right? Did they replace the windows? But it caught back up for a recommended funds balance past years where they should have. Well, if they caught back up, then if you're in line with the reserve fund, then you're good, right? So, you know, that's all you can get the answer from property management writing for your client. What's that? I don't. Do you get this? You can. Property managers are usually pretty good at giving the answers. Like they have to be upfront. You're probably not going to get it from the seller's agent, but if you call the property management company, that's always my default. They don't really like talking to us, but they have to. So, okay.
Just something that struck me when a condo came on and then we were trying to figure things out if we're gonna offer on it. Try to have things lined up during the week. You can't talk to property management companies
On the weekends, no.
Just say that again.
Yeah, you can't. Property management companies don't typically work on the weekend. You might be able to find some that do, but yeah, it's going to be Monday. But again, that just goes back. Like I wouldn't be concerned about that. That wouldn't bother me at all because I have that out in the contract,
Yeah.
right? Like if we get the deal together over the weekend, Monday rolls around, you call the property management company, say, "Oh man, that building's falling down," right? You just say, "Boom," just terminate the deal right there and then because it's written right in there. In that clause that based on your review of the condo documents, you can consider the deal null and void. Okay. All right. So a reserve fund study. Let me get my handy definition here of that. So a reserve fund study projects the cost of major repairs to the common elements and assets of the corporation, or the cost of their replacement for a minimum of 20 years. So what's going to happen every 5 years? An engineer who specializes in condo buildings is going to come to the building and he's going to go through with a fine-tooth comb. And I'm going to show you here now in a second. They go through everything and they recommend, okay, this is what it's going to cost to replace this. This is what it's going to cost to do this. This is going to, over 20 years, this is going to deteriorate to this. This is what money we're going to need. And I'll go over that in a second. The reserve fund studies must be updated in every 5 years. So if you're doing a deal and the reserve fund study is from 2011, ask the agent for the most recent one. Again, that's a client who just send them whatever they have. Okay. After completion, entirely done every 10 years by a professional engineer. Okay. So let's go back to Property Online are charging me money. So this is a reserve fund study. I just took this one, 2016. So, I mean, you need to be an engineer to read this, in depth. So I just want to basically explain what it is. So here's the, you're going through all the different elements of a condo building. Executive summary, he's going to tell you how much money is in the reserve fund at the time of the report. And then he's going to give his status and so right here. So I'm going to try to blow this up. So here you go. So main entry sidewalk, year of completion 2011, anticipated year for replacement 2025, $5,000. I'm not going to go through everything, but that's how it reads. Central Courtyard Terrace Assembly 2011, life expectancy 6 years, 2023, $7,000. So that's where the number comes for what should be in your reserve fund. Okay, so that's why he has, when I showed you those financial statements, they had the recommended allotment of money going into each year, so 36,000 and 4141. That's where these numbers are coming from. So they're saying the roof is going to need to be done in 20 years, so that's going to cost X amount of dollars. This is how much we need to take out of the reserve fund to cover that cost, so you don't get a big special assessment in 20 years, right? And he'll even, down here, he even puts, so see, he starts taking pictures of everything, cracked concrete, this stairwell, and he puts little notes about it on each one. If your client reads it, it's probably going to scare the shit out of them, right? It probably will, because it's going to show all the defects and everything. Like this guy, Mike Williams is the guy who did this one. He drills down deep, right? Like he goes right down to, you know, here's vegetation growing, expectancy of the fence, circa 25, 35 years, renewal allowance 13,000 in 2033. Right, so
Andrew, excuse me one more time, but are we supposed to be able to see something online? Because we're not seeing anything anymore.
I don't know. You should. Maybe. We're just looking at a reserve fund study. Screen share. Share. Okay. Can you see me now?
There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. But you know what? I bet it's because I'm going over to a. So how do I get out of that? I bet I lost you again. Close tabs. Oh no! Don't do that.
Oh, well.
So there you go. Anyone have any questions about a reserve fund study? I'll go back here. Anyone? Anyone? Oh, 206. So you understand? Like, is anyone have any questions about anything? Is it kind of tying in? Like, hopefully you got some tips from it and stuff like that. But that's how a condominium essentially works, and just protect your client. So new construction.
Excuse
Yes.
me. So they must, like in this study, there are lots of things will be repaired or something
Mhm.
in the future. So they must put some, the exact amount in the reserve fund.
Yeah, the recommended.
year.
Exactly. Yeah. So all that will bring up a number. It'll say, so it might be 1,000,000 and 2,000. Then they break it out over the next 20 years. This is how much you need to put in. And then it even goes back farther than that to, this is the condo fee for each unit. So the way condo fees are calculated, it's based on a square footage of a unit, okay? Majority of the time. Some buildings are different, but 95% to 98%, it's always based on the square footage of the unit.
So let's say if it's a very old building,
Uh-huh.
and then they do the refund study, so the cost will be very high for some year.
Mhm.
And can they just don't increase the condo fee, but do
Yep.
another things to?
Yeah, so there's two options. I didn't really get into special assessments or anything like that in this presentation. Again, that's a whole other thing. So what a condo corporation has options. So say, you know, you needed all the windows replaced, or you had a bad leak in the parking garage or something like that, and it's a bill of $100,000. So there's two ways of going about that. They could levy a special assessment on the condo corp against for all the units, and then each unit pays their share based on their square footage. They pay their share of the special assessment, and they need a vote. So you need a 66 and a third vote from all the residents in the building to pass a special assessment. So, you know, it's hard to get that, especially in some buildings if people live away, but then other ones it's easier. That's the way to do it, in my opinion. But if they don't get the vote, they got to get the money somewhere. So that's when you see go into the condo fee, right? If they don't get the vote for the special assessment, the condo fee is going to go up because the condo corporation has to stay solvent, has to have money, so they have to get the money through the condo fee. Does that make sense?
So the special assessment is paid once.
One-time pay? Well, not necessarily. It depends on how they want to set it up. If it's a big special assessment, sometimes they'll do it in like 2 payments, 3 payments, 4 payments over 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
you get the total, and then you could, it's
You go-
$10,000, and you could say, we're giving 2,500
Right.
a year for 4
Exactly.
years.
Yep.
Really depends on both, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no problem. So that's pretty much it for like buying, selling a condo. That's kind of the other thing. I just want to talk a little bit about some new construction buildings. So if you have clients who want new construction, right now there's Goresbrook Park. I know a really nice penthouse suite that's for sale in there on the top floor if anyone's looking.
Is there only one, or is there
No, there's 2.
There's 2.
Two of
Who's
our,
got the better view?
yeah. So that's in the south end of Halifax. That's been selling really well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one. Yeah, I think they might only have 20 units left total in the building. 21. 20.
2 left in phase 1.
Oh, there's our Goresbrook specialist
Yeah,
right there.
like,
2
somebody's
left
gotta
in
be able
phase
to
1.
tell us.
Yeah. So new construction, again, that's a whole nother, I'm not getting into contracts or anything like that. That's a whole other ballgame. I just want to talk about the Roy. People familiar with that building downtown, right on Barrington Street. It's very, very, very high end. It's a luxury condo building. Area at Long Lake, everyone hear about that one?
Did not.
So right now that's Polycorp is building that, and it's right on what's that subdivision called up there on
On Walter Havel?
Walter Havel.
On Stony Brook,
No.
Stony Brook?
No, just the new one, Long Lake. Yeah, Long Lake Village. Yeah, so there's a building going up there. That's a condo building. That's gonna be, yeah. Well, that's Polycorp. So they take their time when they're building any of their product. Yeah,
And they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
cooperate.
they will. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Well, they don't have a listing agent. They'll cooperate. They'll pay 2.5%. Yeah. So that's going to drop any day, any time for pre-sales. So that's going to be, I don't know what they're going to put on it for a price. Hopefully it's it's not going to be too crazy, but with this market that we're in now, I wouldn't be surprised if they.
So if a buyer was asking you, if you had to guesstimate what you think the square footage would be, price
Price
would be.
per square foot on area,
Yeah, what would your expertise?
350 to 400 square foot.
Okay, that long like?
Yeah, maybe, might be more, might be less. But with this market that we're in now and no inventory, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to, up the prices. There's a North End project coming on. I think, do you know anything about that one? Larry and May, possibly? Bilby and Almond. And, yeah, so these are just ones that are kind of a little bit out, but yes. King's Wharf. Yeah, that's right. Who knows? So there's 4 buildings there now. I mean, 10 years ago,
It's an apartment.
one's an apartment. There's 3 condo buildings. 10 years ago, they had planned to have, I don't know, the whole thing done by now. And they only have 4 buildings done. But then they just rejigged it again. So I think I really don't know what's going on. Like it's changed multiple times on the plans and the design and everything. But I think the next building that's going to go up, I'm not sure if it's going to be a condo or not. It's going to be one by the rail tracks. And then they have the Maristalla, which is the big 33-story one. I think they took deposits on that, I think for $10,000 like 8 years ago, I would say, and they haven't broke ground on that. So, I mean, they started that project when we were in the doldrums of our real estate cycle, like 2011, 2015 was not good for Halifax real estate. So, but they're all selling now and they seem to be